There is a memory sitting inside you right now that decided how much money you are allowed to have, not a belief, not a mindset, not a limiting thought you picked up from a book. A memory, an actual scene with a room in it, and a light, and probably a voice, and it is still in there and it is still running. It set a number, and every year since then your life has come up to that number and stopped, and you have blamed the economy and your industry and your timing and your discipline, and none of those were ever the thing. Your ceiling is not a number in your bank account, it is a scene in your head, and the reason it never moves is that you renew it every night without knowing you are doing it. Last night, somewhere between lying down and falling asleep, you signed off on it again. You did not know you were making that decision. You were tired. Your mind drifted back over the day, the way it always does, and it replayed a few scenes without asking your permission. The message you read and did not answer. The number on the screen when you opened your banking app. The small moment where someone said something about money and you felt that quiet drop in your chest. Your mind ran those scenes one more time and then you fell asleep. And that replay is what got recorded, not the day. The replay. Understand this before anything else. Your nervous system does not run today off what happened yesterday. It runs today off the version of yesterday you were holding when you lost consciousness. That is the file. That is the copy it keeps. And every morning, without any ceremony at all, it opens that file and rebuilds a person who matches it. Same reactions, same flinches, same ceiling. You wake up as the person your memory says you are, which means the thing keeping you broke is not out there. It is not the economy, and it is not your job, and it is not the fact that you started late. It is a small library of remembered scenes that you keep recertifying every single night. You are not haunted by your past. You are actively renewing it. Every night you sign the paperwork again. And here is the part nobody says out loud. You do not have to. The scene that set the ceiling is not locked. It can be edited tonight by you, and I am going to show you exactly how it is done before this is over. Neville Goddard taught something that sounds insane the first time you hear it, and then becomes the most practical thing you have ever been handed. He said the events of the day are not final. He said you are not obligated to accept the day as it happened. He said that before you fall asleep, you can go back through the day and rewrite the scenes that did not match the life you intend to live, and that if you do this with feeling, as memory, the corrected version becomes the seed of tomorrow instead of the original. He called it revision. Most people hear that and think it is a coping mechanism, a nice way to feel better about a bad day. It is not. It is the most aggressive technique in his entire body of work, because it goes underneath the future and edits the thing the future is being generated from. Think about the fantasy that half the internet is addicted to right now. Everywhere you look, there is a story about someone who wakes up in their old life with everything they know now. They go back and they take the deal they refused. They speak up in the room where they stayed quiet. They stop apologizing, and the whole audience watches with their chest tight because everybody has a version of that scene. Everybody has a moment they would go back and do differently. That story is popular for a reason. It is the only fantasy that feels like justice. And revision is that, except you do not have to wait for a car accident and a second life. You get last night back, tonight, with everything you know now. And you do not get it as a daydream. You take it as memory. Now let me be very precise about the mechanism because this is where people ruin it. Memory is not a recording. That is the first lie you have to drop. You think you have a video file of your past sitting somewhere in your head and you are just pressing play. That is not what is happening. Every time you remember something, you are rebuilding it. You are assembling it again out of pieces, in the present, colored by how you feel right now. And when you are done, it gets stored again in whatever shape it just took. The memory you have of a moment 5 years ago is not the moment. It is a copy of a copy of a copy, and every single pass through it was edited by the person you were on that day. So you already revise. You have been revising your whole life. You just do it in the wrong direction. You take a neutral event and you replay it with the sting added. Someone did not text back, and by the third replay, it is proof that you are forgettable. A job did not come through, and by the 10th replay, it is proof that things do not work out for you. A price came out of your mouth and you replayed the second of silence that followed until it became evidence that you are not worth it. Nobody handed you those conclusions, you edited them in, night after night, downward. You are not being asked to lie to yourself. You are being asked to stop. Here is what your revision actually looks like when it is done correctly, and I want you to do this exactly because the small details are the whole thing. You lie down, not sitting. Lying down on your back is best, in the dark, with your eyes closed. You let your body get heavy. You want to reach that state right at the edge of sleep, where thinking feels slower and slightly further away, where you could drift off if you stopped paying attention. Neville called it the state akin to sleep, and it matters, because that is the point where the guard at the door of your mind is off duty. During the day, that guard rejects anything that does not match your current identity. You say a wealthy sentence at 2 in the afternoon, and something inside you says, no, you are not. At the edge of sleep, that argument does not happen. Whatever you feed in goes straight through. Once you are heavy and quiet, you review the day backward. Start with lying down in bed, then brushing your teeth, then the last thing you ate, then the evening, then the afternoon. Move backward through the whole day in scenes quickly, like flipping backward through photographs. Do not narrate it. Do not analyze it. Just pass through it. You are looking for one thing, the scene with the sting. There is always one. There is one moment in your day where something contracted, where you got smaller, where money touched the conversation and your body did something. It is usually not dramatic. That is why it slips past you. It is the moment you opened your banking app and your jaw tightened before you even saw the number. It is the moment a friend told you about something they bought and you said, must be nice. It is the moment you said no to an invitation and gave a fake reason. It is the moment you quoted your own price and then immediately added something to soften it. It is the moment you looked at someone doing better than you and felt that low, ugly flicker. Find that one, stop there, and now you rewrite it. Not the entire day, not your whole life, that one scene. You go back to the beginning of that scene and you run it again the way it should have gone. If you opened the app and your jaw tightened, you run it again and this time you open the app. You see a number that makes you exhale and you close it and think about something else. That is the whole scene. If a friend told you about their new place and you felt that flicker, you run it again, and this time you are genuinely happy for them, easy, warm, with nothing underneath it, because you are not competing. If you quoted your price and softened it, you run it again and this time you say the number and then you say nothing. You let the silence sit, and it does not scare you. Small, specific, physical, that is the standard. And then comes the instruction that separates the people this works for from the people it does nothing for. You do not imagine it. You remember it. There is an enormous difference between those two things, and your body knows it even when your language does not. Imagining has a forward lean to it. It has hope in it, and hope has doubt built in. Remembering has no lean at all. Remembering is relaxed because the thing is already done, and there is nothing to hold up. When you remember eating breakfast, you do not strain. You do not concentrate. You do not try to make it feel real. It just sits there, finished. That is the tone you are after. Bored certainty. That is what a real memory feels like from the inside. So you replay the corrected scene, and you keep replaying it softly, until it stops feeling like a project and starts feeling like something that just happened. Some nights that takes 2 passes. Some nights it takes 15. You will know the moment it lands, because the effort drops out of it. It gets smooth, it gets ordinary. And when it is ordinary, you are done. Then you sleep. That is important. You do not get up and check your phone. You do not go back over the real version to compare. The corrected scene is the last thing in your mind, and then consciousness goes out, and that version is what gets filed. Now, the objection. Everyone has the same one, so let us handle it directly. Is this not just lying to yourself? No, and I want you to sit with why. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You are already running an edited version. There is no unedited version available to you. The moment the day ended, the raw material was gone and all you have is a reconstruction, and that reconstruction has been shaped by your mood, your fatigue, your assumptions about yourself, and about 900 small biases you did not choose. The story you carry about your worst financial year is not a documentary. It is a heavily edited film, cut by someone who was in pain at the time, and you have been watching it on repeat and calling it the truth. So the question was never whether you edit. You edit. The only question is whether you edit toward the life you want, or away from it. And for most people, every pass makes the story worse because They are editing in the emotional key of the version of themselves that is already struggling. Revision is not dishonesty. Revision is taking the pen back. Second objection, and this one is fair. What about the other people? They still remember what actually happened. Your boss still remembers the meeting. Your relative still remembers what they said to you at that table. Neville was direct about this, and it is one of the hardest ideas in his work. Everyone you meet is in your world. They show up in your experience already carrying an attitude toward you, and that attitude is not something they generated in a vacuum. It matches the state you are in. You have watched this happen 100 times without naming it. There are days when everyone seems to be difficult, and days when doors open and people are inexplicably warm, and you know it was not the world that changed that morning. When your state moves, the people in your life move with it, often in ways that make no logical sense. So you do not revise in order to change their memory. You revise in order to change your state. Their behavior follows. That is the order. Third objection. I tried and I did not feel anything. Then your scene was too big. That is almost always the reason. People try to revise an entire year. They try to revise a relationship, a career, a decade of financial stress. Your mind cannot get its hands around that. So nothing lands and you conclude the technique does not work. Go small. Absurdly small. One scene, one room, one exchange, 60 seconds long. Give it physical detail. What was the light like? What were you holding? What was the temperature? Detail is not decoration here. Detail is the thing that convinces your body it is a memory. And your body is the one you are talking to. And do not chase intensity. This is where people burn themselves out. You are not trying to feel a rush. A rush is not evidence, and its absence is not failure. Ordinary is the target. Ordinary is stronger than intense every single time, because ordinary is what a fact feels like. Now let me tell you why this hits money specifically, harder than it hits anything else. The moments that keep you broke are almost never the big ones. It is not the day you lost the job. It is the 10,000 small contractions since. It is the flinch that happens in your chest a quarter second before you look at a price tag. It is the automatic sentence, I cannot afford that, which leaves your mouth before your brain has done any arithmetic at all. It is the way you round your own value down when someone asks what you charge. It is the tiny apologetic tone you get when the subject of money enters the room. None of those feel important in the moment. All of them get filed, and filed material is not neutral, it is instruction. Your nervous system reads that file every morning and builds a person who behaves exactly like someone with no money, and that person then goes out and makes decisions all day, and those decisions produce a day that confirms the file, and that day gets filed again. That loop is not sealed, it has one door in it, and the door is open for about 8 minutes every night, right before you go under. So this is your assignment, and I want you to start tonight, not Monday, not after you have thought about it. Tonight, lying down, you go backward through the day. You find the one scene where something in you got smaller around money. You rewrite that one scene, corrected 60 seconds long in physical detail. You replay it until it goes flat and ordinary, and then you sleep on it. That is it. That is the entire practice, and it takes less time than scrolling before bed, which is what you are going to do with those 8 minutes anyway. Do that for a week and watch what changes. It will not be dramatic at first. What you will notice first is that the flinch is gone. You will open the app and nothing will happen in your chest. You will hear a price and not react. Someone will bring up money and your voice will stay level. That is not a small thing. That is the file changing shape, and everything downstream of the file changes after it. Before I take you into the deeper part of this, where we get into revising the distant past, revising other people, and revising a day before you have lived it, there is one thing I want to point you toward. A lot of people write in saying the same thing. They understand the idea, they believe it, and they still cannot get their imagination to hold still for 8 minutes. That is a real problem, and it is not a character flaw. It is a training problem. There is a program I came across on this exact issue, and I put the link in the pinned comment because enough people asked. I did not make it, and I do not pretend to have. I recommend it because it does one job well, which is teaching an untrained mind to hold a scene until it sets. If that is your specific bottleneck, look at it. If it is not, ignore it completely and keep listening, because what comes next matters more. Now we go further back. Because the scene from today is rarely the original. Today's flinch is a rerun. Somewhere behind it there is a first showing, and for almost everybody listening to this, That first showing happened before you were 12 years old. You were in a room. Two adults were talking about money in a tone that was not normal. Maybe there was a piece of paper on the table. Maybe a voice got low or sharp or went quiet in a way that was worse than shouting. And you were small, and you did not understand the details, but your body understood the temperature perfectly. Money entered the room and safety left it. That is the entire lesson, and you learned it in one afternoon, and you have been running it ever since. Or it was simpler than that. You asked for something in a store and you got a look, not even words. A look and a sentence that got repeated in your house so often it became furniture. We cannot afford that, and every time it landed a small ceiling was installed, and you have been reaching up and touching that ceiling ever since without knowing it is there. That scene is still in the file. It is still being read every morning, and it can be revised. Go back to it. Same method, same state at the edge of sleep. Put yourself in that room at that height with that light, and then run it the way it should have gone. The adults are calm. The piece of paper is not a problem. Somebody laughs. Somebody says the thing you needed to hear, which is usually some version of, "We are fine, we are more than fine, this is easy for us." Or you are in the store and you ask, and the answer is yes, of course, and it is not a big deal to anyone. And you stay in that scene until it is boring. I want you to understand what just happened, because it is not therapy and it is not forgiveness work. You are not processing anything. You are not making peace with anything. You went in and changed the instruction. The child in that scene walks out with a different conclusion about what money means, and that child is the one who has been running your finances for the last 20 years. People report strange things after this one. They will tell you the actual memory gets harder to reach afterward, that when they try to recall the original, it comes back thin, faded, like a movie they saw once, instead of something that happened to them. That is the correct outcome. You did not delete it, you demoted it. Now the second advanced move, and this is the one that changes your relationships with people fastest. You can revise people, not their souls, not their free will. Their behavior toward you in a specific scene. Neville was blunt about this. He described taking a person who had been unpleasant, hostile, dismissive, and putting them in his imagination behaving in the exact opposite way, warm, generous, respectful, and holding that until it felt like memory. And he insisted over and over that the person then behaved that way in fact, often within days, often with no explanation and no memory of having been any other way. You have somebody in mind already. There is someone who is difficult with you specifically about money, a client who negotiates you down every single time, a relative who says something small and cutting whenever the subject comes up, a manager who has told you 3 times that there is nothing in the budget, somebody who, when they appear, brings a certain pressure with them. Take the last real interaction you had with that person, lie down, rewrite it. In your version, they are relaxed. They agree easily. They say the number without wincing. They tell you they are glad to work with you. They tell you it is handled. And you replay it, in their voice, with their face, in the actual room where it happened, until it is smooth and unremarkable. Then leave it alone. Do not chase them. Do not send a message to test it. Leaving it alone is part of the technique, because the moment you go looking for confirmation, you have announced that you do not have it yet. Third move. This one is the most useful in daily life and almost nobody uses it, because everybody thinks revision only points backward. You can revise a day before you live it. Neville taught this too, and it is the same mechanism running one step ahead. You lie down the night before and instead of correcting yesterday, you remember tomorrow. Tomorrow is over already. It went well. And you go through the 2 or 3 moments that matter, the call, the meeting, the conversation, the message you are dreading, and you experience them as already handled and already behind you. The tone you want is not excitement. It is the tone of someone at the end of a long day thinking, that went fine, and then thinking about dinner instead. Do that and something odd starts happening. You will walk into the room and it will feel familiar. Your body will not spike. You will be the calmest person in the conversation, and the calmest person in a conversation about money is the one who sets the number. Fourth, and this one is about speed. You do not have to wait until night. Neville's own instruction was that the moment something happens that does not match the life you intend, you correct it immediately, right there, in the next quiet minute you get. Somebody says something and you feel that drop. You go to the bathroom, or you sit in your car, or you close your eyes for 40 seconds at your desk, and you run the scene again the way it should have gone. 40 seconds. That is enough. What you are preventing is important. You are preventing the original from getting rehearsed all afternoon, because if you carry it for 6 hours, you have run it 50 times before you ever lie down, and now you are trying to overwrite 50 repetitions with 3. Catch it early, and the correction is small. Carry it all day and you are doing surgery. Which brings me to the single thing that undoes all of this. And I need you to hear this one clearly, because most people ruin their own work here without realizing it. You retell the original version out loud. You revise beautifully at 11 at night, and then at lunch the next day somebody asks how it went and you tell them the real story, with detail, with the tone, with the part where you felt small. And you watch their face while you tell it, and their reaction feeds it, and by the time you finish that story you have reinstalled the original at full strength and thrown out your own work. Telling the story is not neutral. Telling the story with feeling out loud to another person is one of the strongest ways there is to make something permanent. Neville was very clear that the inner conversation is what you are actually living from, and the fastest way to make an inner conversation permanent is to give it an audience. So this is the discipline that goes with the technique, and it is not optional. Once you have revised something, that version is the only version you tell, not because you are lying to your friends, because you are not going to fund the thing you just spent your night dismantling. If someone asks, keep it short. It went fine. It is handled. Then talk about something else. And this leads into how your day has to sound in general. Your inner conversation is a continuous revision running in the wrong direction all day long. Listen to yourself for 1 hour and count. I cannot afford that. Things are tight right now. Maybe next month. It is a lot of money. That is not for people like me. Every one of those is a small deposit into the same file, and there are hundreds of them, and you have never once noticed yourself making them. You do not have to replace those with affirmations. Do not walk around telling yourself you are a millionaire. That is a fight you will not win at 2 in the afternoon. And losing that fight repeatedly teaches your nervous system that this whole thing is a game. Just stop making the deposits. Let the sentence die in your throat before it comes out. Say nothing instead. Silence is not neutral. Silence is a room with nothing being installed in it, and after a few days of that, the file gets quiet enough for the night work to actually stick. Now let me tell you what to expect, because expecting the wrong thing is why people quit at day 9. The first week is a body change, not a money change. You will not see a number move. What you will notice is smaller and better. The flinch goes. You will open the banking app and nothing will happen in your chest. You will hear a price and stay level. Somebody will bring up their new car and you will feel nothing at all, not even a flicker. And you will register how strange that is. That is the file changing shape, and it always shows up in the body before it shows up anywhere else. The second week is the quiet, and this is where most people abandon it. Things go still, not bad. Still. The old chaos that used to fill your days settles down, and nothing has arrived yet to replace it, and that gap feels like proof that nothing is working. It is not. That gap is the space between the old identity going offline and the new one starting to produce. Everything real goes through that gap. Do not use that week to check for evidence. Checking is the behavior of someone who does not have it. The third week is when the 3D runs its test. And it will. Something will show up that looks exactly like the old story. An unexpected bill, a payment that does not arrive, somebody saying the thing they always used to say, and it will arrive with a strange precision aimed right at the scene you have been revising, and it will feel personal. It is a test of state, and the only wrong answer is to react like you used to. Notice it. Do not argue with it, and revise it that same night. Not with drama, not with a fight. You simply take the scene and you run the corrected version and you go to sleep. Passing that test is worth more than a month of good nights, because it is the first time your nervous system watches the old trigger fire and does not respond. That is the moment the identity actually changes hands. And then, usually in the 4th week, things start arriving sideways. This is the part people never predict, so let me name it. The money almost never comes from the direction you are staring at. You spend weeks pointed at one specific source, the raise, the client, the payment somebody owes you, and then something arrives from a channel you had not thought about in a year. An old contact writes, a thing you gave up on resolves. Somebody refers you without being asked. It comes in through the side door, which is exactly what should happen, because you were never moving money. You were moving state, and state does not have to respect your logistics. And when it happens, watch yourself carefully, because there is one last trap. The trap is celebrating it as a miracle. If you jump when the first amount arrives, if you tell everybody, if you treat it as a lucky break, you have just told your own nervous system that this is an unusual event outside your normal experience. And unusual events are, by definition, things that do not repeat. You have to receive it as normal, underwhelmed, of course, about time. That is not arrogance, it is maintenance, and it is the difference between one lucky month and a new baseline. There is one more thing I want to correct before we finish, because it comes up every time, and it stops people from starting. People ask how often they are allowed to revise the same scene. They think there is a limit. They think that going back to it a second time means the first attempt failed, and that reworking it is a kind of desperation that cancels the whole thing. There is no limit. A memory is not a stone tablet you get one strike at. It is something you are rebuilding constantly, whether you participate or not. So returning to a scene is not repair work. It is simply you being present for a process that was going to run anyway. If the scene comes back tomorrow with the old feeling attached, you correct it again calmly, with no commentary about how it should have stuck the first time. Neville revised the same situations repeatedly and never treated repetition as evidence of failure. He treated it the way you treat brushing your teeth. You do not brush once and declare the matter settled forever. What you are not allowed to do is argue with the original while you are correcting it. Some people lie down and spend 20 minutes fighting. They run the real version, then the corrected version, then back to the real one to check whether the correction is winning. That is not revision. That is rehearsing both and letting the loudest one win, and the loudest one is always the one with the pain in it, because pain has better production value. You do not compare. You do not check. You put the corrected scene up and you let it play, and if the old one pushes in, you go back to the start of the corrected one and run it again without any reaction at all. No frustration, no commentary. Just start it over. Boredom is the weapon here. The version you keep returning to with no drama is the version that survives the night. So, here is what I want you to actually do. Laid out, simply. Every night for the next 21 nights you lie down. You go backward through your day. You find the single scene where something in you got smaller around money, and you rewrite that scene in physical detail and replay it until it goes flat and ordinary. Then you sleep on it without checking anything. Once in that stretch, go back and revise the childhood scene, the room, the table, the store, whatever yours is. One time properly is enough. During the day when something lands wrong, you take 40 seconds and you correct it on the spot instead of carrying it. And you never tell the original version out loud again. Not to your partner, not to your friend, not to yourself in the shower. That version is finished. It does not get an audience anymore. That is the whole practice. It costs you nothing, and it takes 8 minutes of a day you are going to spend on your phone. I want to leave you with the reason this matters more than any other technique in this work. Everything else you have ever been taught points forward. Set the intention, visualize the goal, hold the vision, and all of it is trying to build a future on top of a foundation that is still being rebuilt every night out of the same old material. You are laying brick on a floor that resets while you sleep. Revision goes underneath. It reaches back and changes what the foundation is made of. And when the foundation changes, you do not have to force the future at all. It gets generated differently, automatically, by a nervous system that is now working from a different set of instructions and does not know it is doing anything unusual. You are not trying to become a wealthy person. You are removing the record that says you are not one. What is left underneath was never poor to begin with. Tonight, when you lie down, you're going to make that decision again. You always do. The only question is which version of today you're going to hand over. Now I want to hear from you. In the comments, tell me the one scene you're going to revise tonight. Not your whole story. One scene, the specific one. Writing it down does something, and I read them. And if you have already done this and something moved, say so, because there is somebody scrolling past this on their 9th day, sitting in the quiet part, about to give up. And your comment is the only thing that is going to keep them going one more week. If this landed, subscribe. I release this kind of breakdown every other day, and the next one goes deeper into what happens to your life in the months after the old record is gone. Sleep well. Rewrite it first.